Hey everyone, I'm FDA Storyteller, and welcome once again to the internet's favorite Larryboy-centric monthly block, Janu-Larry. Today, I will be treating you to the third episode of the Cartoon Adventures of Larryboy, the Yodel Napper. Okay, let me give you some backstory on this. This episode came out shortly after Jonah on November 26, 2002. So, it was on its own. Now the show, Larryboy the Cartoon Adventures, was its own thing. Well, shortly, because the studio would eventually file for bankruptcy and fall into the hands of DreamWorks Animation, which would lead to one of the worst abominations in VeggieTales history. That wasn't a parody video. But SaberSpark beat me to the punch in telling this story, so go watch his video. Send me a shout out if you want to do a whole big idea storyline someday. Enough about that. Let's move on to the actual story.
What is it? What's the plan? Tell me the plan!
It's the unveiling of a new toy at Mr. Snappy's Toy Emporium. And everyone in Bumblyburg is ready to go nuts for this newest toy, Hula Heidi. Imagine the Pokemon craze mixed with the Tickle Me Elmo craze of '96, and you probably got what the excitement was like in the air. Even fully grown Larry the Cucumber is there, obsessed over this baby's entertainment. What? Stop looking at me. Bet he paid some people off to get to the front of the line. When the doors open, the hordes rampage in, and no one cares about their fellow man. Look at what happened to poor Archie. Rest in peace. Why are so many people so excited? Now, this episode says that it was a
fine spring day.
But the cartoon came out in November, and I remembered Americans have this backwards tradition of celebrating Thanksgiving in November. I wonder. Okay, so 2002, Thanksgiving was on the 28th, which means Black Friday was on the 29th. Solved. This is a Black Friday episode of VeggieTales. Oh, gee, FDA, but it said it was spring. Shut up, it's fall. So decrees me. Now let's get back to the story. After the untimely death of his dear butler Archibald, Larryboy continues into the store, completely unfazed. In the commotion, he nearly suffers the same fate, but is saved by his total disrespect of other people's merchandise. On his way to the doll display, he proceeds to create life? Then immediately volunteer to destroy his creation? Making this the second villain that Larryboy accidentally created, as far as we know.
But besides that, I was super!
And in that one act, Larryboy became a god, giving and taking away life. I'm looking at you, Cauliflower.
Wow, you would have nailed that exit if it weren't for the pogo stick.
Know ye not that the pogo stick is the key to life itself? The Crazy Clay Monster and Larryboy battle briefly. Larryboy tries violence, distraction, but in the end must resort to sedation. Whoa, wait, that is not how a saxophone works. Like, I'm not even talking about the fact that no one's playing it. I mean, if air is going in through the bell of the instrument, it will not make a sound coming out of the mouthpiece. Regardless, his foe is defeated, and Larryboy goes to buy his toy, only to find out that apparently Mr. Snappy has been running the store while the violence raged on, as one person had come in and bought every last Hula Heidi, giving us the greatest reaction in Larryboy history.
What? All gone? Hula Heidi!
It's even memeable! The world is burning, and I pray that Jesus comes soon. Back home, Larry wallows in the mud to find Archibald is still alive? But that doesn't cheer up the toyless wonder until he hears his favorite yodeler is performing that night. Larry and Archibald sit in their private box. Larry takes a moment to remind us the lesson of the first episode of the series.
Larryboy held captive by his own anger!
Oh, that's his name. Well, during the performance, Anger is sucked up a tube, and despite the efforts to save him, is flown off and yodel-napped. Roll credits. Ever the great performer, Anger continues to yodel as he is taken away. Sorry, what?
Anger Warblethroat has been Yodel-napped.
I know it's a kid's show, but just imagine if Logan Paul was kidnapped, and the news came off and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, it seems Logan Paul has been douchebag-napped." We're taken to a castle where we meet the villain of the day, Gretta von Grussen, inspired by Victor Von Doom of Marvel's Fantastic Four, in a Darth Vader pod. And honestly, this has to be the most dramatic entrance of any Larryboy villain. Check it out. You got Flight of the Valkyries playing, lightning, and everything. She explains her wicked plan to collect all the world's great yodelers due to her love of the craft, forcing them to sing at her request, or be covered in smelt-flavored pudding. Smelt is a fish, by the way. I had no idea when I was a kid, so I had to look it up. And now you know. At the Daily Bumble the next day, Larry seeks to get info on this Yodel Napper. We get some fun Larry crushing on Vicky, probably the clearest point thus far in the cartoon series. I also want to point out that they managed to give her a waist. I don't think I've ever seen a veggie character with a booty, but hey, okay, I guess. None of the reporters have any idea who could be behind the crime. Listen to what Junior says here.
And all the usual supervillains, Awful Alvin, the Alchemist, Lampy, are already in jail.
Is Mother Pearl not in jail? Could she be working hard to break her son out of the clink?
Wow, I'm free! I'm free!
But that's just a theory. A VeggieTale theory. Larryboy goes to class, hoping Bok Choy would have some advice for him. However, the old veggie is struggling with the loss of Anger Warblethroat. Though he finishes the lesson about the dangers of material things, Larryboy doesn't help with his answers to questions that are posed in class.
The complete works of Anger Warblethroat on CD?
Anger, oh Anger, my ears long for your golden happy sound.
Leaving the poor man to his struggles.
Ow, ow,
Never mind.
ow, ow.
At home, Archie reveals his plan to take down the Yodel Napper. They'll trick the villain into preying on Larryboy in disguise. All to catch a predator style. So Larryboy, as Noodle Blabberbop, puts on a concert with his pet sheep. Only to realize he can't yodel. Something we've seen Larry do. When he tries, he's so bad everyone gets angry. So angry that they throw a tomato at him. Potted tomato, to be precise.
Hey, I don't care how bad he is. We do not throw tomatoes in this town.
Honestly, I think he came with Vicky and Junior, and they just tossed him. Vicky has quite the arm, or lack thereof. Larry decides to shift gear and clog dances, which gains applause and gets him yodel-napped. Now in Gretta's lair, Larryboy throws off the ruse and attempts to free the yodelers in a daring escape, with the help of toy sheep. It doesn't work. They're all dropped down a trapdoor. At the bottom of the drop, Larryboy and the yodelers find themselves surrounded by many Polynesian dolls with white people names.
Well, I may have Hula Hillary, and Hula Howie, and Hula Hannah, and Hula Harriet, and Hula Hortense, and Hula Hank, and Hula Hallie, and...
The Hula Friends! Larryboy finds out that Gretta was the person who bought all the dolls from Mr. Snappy's. She also modified them to... attack. After a fun bit of gadget-based gags, anger polkas the hula friends to death, like Weird Al or the aliens in Mars Attacks. Finally, Larryboy takes on Gretta and saves the day. The yodelers perform a song for Larryboy, and Archibald's no longer allowed to sit in Larry's private theater box for getting his boss kidnapped. And that's the episode. Everyone dances like it's the end of Shrek, even the crazy clay monster. We get a super short called Polar Pickle, and it tells the story of Larryboy's greatest villain. This mother-flippin' carrot right here! He's so smug and idiotic. You don't believe me? Let's go through this short. At the zoo, Larry and Archie hear crying. It's a kid and his a-hole of a friend who bumped his toy fish into a penguin enclosure, a la Harambe the gorilla. The rest of the short is Larry chasing these 3-2-1 Penguins rejects while demonstrating his arsenal of gadgets and how to swim without arms and legs. A feature later shown by Mr. Lunt in the Pirates Don't Do Anything movie and previously in Lyle the Kindly Viking. But after all that Larryboy does to get the fish, only for this to happen.
Oh, cool! Polar bear!
Yo, this kid did that on purpose. I despise this kid more than any other character in VeggieTales. Dang it, let's move on to the message.
Sir, would you like to take a short break?
No, I will finish the
The
lesson.
Bible verse in this episode is Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 10.
Turn in your superhero handbooks to section 21, paragraph 5, line 10.
Whosoever loves money never has money enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with his income. This, too, is meaningless. This was written by King Solomon during his emo days as King of Israel. You see, Solomon had everything. Money, wealth, cash, and a palace, women, and cattle. But within his reign, despite being blessed by God and becoming a man of renown and getting everything he wanted, Solomon found himself empty. During his ride to success, not only did he forget God, but he abused his people and ultimately found that it did nothing for him, leaving him miserable and broken. You see, in the cartoon, both Gretta and Larryboy are wealthy and able to get anything they want. Their struggles parallel each other.
Meet my hula friend, Ame!
Wow! You like hula friends?
Of course, who wouldn't? With their well-sculpted design and online auction collectability.
Neither of them have reached Solomon levels, but Gretta is getting pretty close. Her greed has taken such precedent in her life that she no longer cares about imprisoning people, and will do it just to serve her own purpose. Larryboy is also getting there, willing to let his dear friend suffer so he can get a toy. Solomon is the final stage for both of them if they don't change their attitudes. It is believed that Solomon finally learned his lesson, and learned that despite how temporary life is, and how temporary its pleasures are, one can find joy in the Lord. God being an ever-flowing fountain of love, support, and kindness. I think this episode, while it didn't get to that conclusion, did a great job of showing how any of us can fall victim to greed. From a CEO of a major company to a child with an extra cookie. We all must be wary of being blinded by greed. In conclusion, honestly, despite what other reviewers may say, I feel that this is the most complete episode of the Cartoon Adventures of Larryboy. What I mean when I say that is that despite all the stories going on, everyone has something to do with the plot. Obviously Larry, he wants a toy, enough that he is willing to ignore the feelings of others and cause damage around him to get it. As Larryboy, he sees not only the fault in this, but sees that he can become just like Gretta. Through Gretta, it is implied that she's a wealthy ruler of a country and has a responsibility to her people, but since she's so focused on being satisfied, all she does is consume all that's around her. And when what's around her isn't enough, she attempts to reach out and take from others. Also, we can see how her desire to accumulate more moves from materials to people, showing how little respect she has for the autonomy of others, and demonstrating that someone's worth to her is derived from how easily they are exploited. Bok Choy even has a moment of weakness, breaking down from his stoic, no-nonsense attitude to show that he too has weaknesses and even struggles to finish the lesson. He is not exempt from the dangers of greed or even materialism. Archie lovers rejoice. Archibald plays a huge role in this episode, comparatively, from joining Larry at the toy shop to developing the plan and supporting Larry as he performs. He even gets a little shout out at the end. This is the best storytelling that the show has ever had. Everything pays off in a satisfying way. The Hula Friends come back, the Crazy Clay Monster comes back, Larry missing out on his purchase comes back.
Oh, I'm sorry, Larry boy. They're all gone. Someone just came in and bought every last one.
I even bought every last hula hiding at Mr. Schnappy's Toy Emporium.
That was you?
All in a relatively natural way. If you compare this to Angry Eyebrows, I would say that cheese-breathing cow dragon wasn't needed. Herbert and Wally are barely in that episode. Or, for Lego My Ego, the villains aren't exactly struggling with ego, so much as they're struggling with childish bickering.
I wanted to say that part.
Go ahead, Colby.
Never mind. Just show the next slide.
But in Larryboy paralleling the villain, we get a great example of how far greed can take us. This is also the first Larryboy episode to show the world outside of Bumbleberg, going all the way to Zucchinia. So, my rating for this episode is a very positive 8.5 out of 10.
They love my dancing. They love me. I pulled my way right into their hearts.
Every point was hit. Even the animation was better and fuller. I mean, there's still mistakes. Like, in the scene where Larry's performing, Larry is also in the box. The theater box. Yeah, it's weird. Now, there's a book for this episode. I've not really read it, but if you want a rundown, Larryboy Fanatic did her own take on both the episode and the novelette that shares its name. Go check it out.
Does anyone here have a toy saxophone?
I hope you enjoyed the review. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We got one more episode in the Cartoon Adventures of Larryboy, and I'm excited to break that down with you. SDA Storyteller, out.
From the creators of VeggieTales comes an all-new episode of the Cartoon Adventures of Larryboy.
Plungers away!
It's a new villainous plot to kidnap the world's greatest yodeler.
Cease your chatter und yodel for me, Yodel boy.
And Larryboy is on the case with help from his superhero friends.
A hero should not base their happiness on material things.
Will Larryboy's yodeling get him yodel-napped or worse?
Hey, I don't care how bad he is. We do not throw tomatoes in this town.
The Cartoon Adventures of Larryboy continue with Larryboy and the Yodelnappers, available on video and DVD. It's more Sunday morning values and Saturday morning fun from the studios of Big Idea.